Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Football Manager 24 tutorial series. We've done through the inbox, so we've welcomed ourselves to the club. We've had a quick view and we've assessed the squad. Hopefully you've sorted out your own personal views of the squad and how you like to see it, because it's time we move into tactics. Tactics are accessed again through the left hand side. When you're first on this screen for the very first time, you will be asked to create a tactic, because you always have to have at least one. When you very first play the game, if you haven't turned off tutorials, you'll be met with loads of blue boxes which you can click on for additional guidance if you see fit. Looking for our tactic here, you're going to be met with a how you want to play. Now, you can pick one of these presets if you know what kind of way you want to play at the start. Before you do that, and we'll touch on club vision here, but we won't go through all the aspects of it, is they want us to play entertaining and attacking football. So when we're creating a tactic, we have to bear that in mind. So there's no point looking at playing Park the Bus or Catenaccio. Counter-attack's probably not the right way. They want us to be quite attacking. So from route 1 down, all the counters, probably not something that we're going to look at in particular. You can create your own style from scratch. Again, if you don't want to use one of these presets and you want to define it really specifically, you can go down that route. But what I would say is just keep it quite simple the first time you do it, and just pick something that you think is going to work. You can tweak it at a later date, you can refine it, but I think it gives you a really good basis and a grounding to get your team going. So we're going to look at, I think vertical tiki-taka. We're going to look at dominate the possession, relentless pressing, and emphasis on moving the ball forward. So we'll go vertical tiki-taka. Quick passing style gives you a little bit of a balance of what it is. So it's going to involve short passing, playing the ball out of defence, working the ball into the box, being more expressive. So that's sounding a bit more exciting and dominant in terms of the club vision. In transition, short kicks, out of possession, high intensity press. So we're going to look to get the ball back quickly. We're going to look to move it really short and quickly, and we're going to look to feed it into the box to hopefully what's going to be our attacking position. So I think that's what's going to suit us. It gives us an idea of what formations might work best for this. However, Roberto Baroni, one of our squad staff members, reckons it's well suited. From that, you can then choose a formation. Again, we had a couple of wingers in there and a good forward. You can pick one of the ones they suggest, which they've normally got some really good suggestions in there. Now, it's personal preference at this stage. You can move the players around. The one they're suggesting is a 4-2-3-1 wide. Why not just go with a suggestion and see? We can see afterwards whether the players sit better. We can see if that involves all our best players within the squad, but I think sometimes going with what is recommended might be the best way to start. You can pick other formations if you want. There's a huge suite of formations in there, but ultimately once we get to the next screen, you can move them about as you see fit anyway, so nothing's set in stone in this stage. So we'll confirm that gives us this page, that gives us what we've chosen on the left hand side, how we play, an outline of the formation on the pitch, and then you can select your players as you see fit on there. Now, there's lots and lots of different ways to do this. If you are just wanting your staff to do it, you can do a quick pick. They'll pick all the players for you based on what your current fitness levels are, etc. If you want to pick individually, you can use these pick a player drop-down menus, and you can pick a player based from there. You can also go back to your squad position, and you can drag all the positions from the top if you want. So what you could do is you could sort by your best ability players, and you could drag and drop onto the player that you want to put in the picture. So if you take that, for example, Ordero is our best goalkeeper. Let's look who else we've got on here, and we'll ignore injuries for now. Pedrola is a attacking midfielder on the left, so you could potentially put Pedrola in on the left. Barini's a striker, we could put him up front, and when you move between the two, they're already starting to put them players in them positions and give you an assessment of how good they are at playing at that role and ability. So that's one way to do it, is to drag them from your squad, and it's a good way of guaranteeing you're getting your top players into your tactic. Another way to do it, and a way I quite like to do it, is to use the drop down menu here under the player, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you a rough idea of who the best players for that position is. So in terms of wing back right, that's telling you what the role is, who's most suited to it, and you can just click on their name and it populates them in there. So again, a different way of doing it. I think this way is better because it filters it by the players more suitable for the role. So again, centre halves, we've got Facundo Gonzalez, we'll get Gilardi in there. At left back, we've got Giordano. A defensive midfielder, we've got Yepes, deep line playmaker. I mean, Darpo, we've got Yepes and Darpo both like playing deep, so that's good. We've got a couple of good players in there. Inside forward on the right hand side, again, Pedrola can play either, Barini, and this is where you might start to think, well, actually, I'm putting my fourth choice in there. Maybe I need to switch a couple of their players around. And then the advanced midfielder role, Esposito, again, he's better in that kind of midfield role, but we've got Vera in there as well. So actually, maybe we put Vera in there, play Esposito out on the right, and see how that works. Now, that's one way to do it. You can then get your staff to pick the rest if you want. So you can get them to pick without restrictions, the unpicked positions only. That's based on today, and they will bring all the substitute appearances, substitute positions in there. So that's what you've got. The reason it's not fully filled it is you've got injured players in there who can't play, and you've got players out on loan. So that's why it's not filled them final 4 spots. If you wanted to, you can open up the filter. Again, you can include your under 20 players in there if you want and repick it. But that's a good way of assessing whether you've got the right players in the squad. What you can then do is you can match that back to your squad and say, well, of all my best players, have they all been picked? Well, no. So Ordero's gone. I'm pretty sure I put him in, so I don't know why he's dropped off. Let's go back to the tactics. It's because they've swapped some of the players around. So when I've pressed a quick pick, it's picked all the players and swapped them around. But again, you get the point. You can unpick them. You can clear the entire list. You can go again. That's picking Stankovic on there, probably because he's most suited to the role. But just to get it populated, we'll pick it like that. So that's what they think the best team is for that formation currently today, and you can swap them around as you see fit. Other views you've got in there is you can go into player. You can pick on a particular player and say, well, actually, what do I want him to do? So that player on the left-hand wing is set to dribble more, cut inside. That's the default set to them. What you can do is you can edit that position, and you can really tweak the specifics of what you want that player to do. And that would probably be based on if you want to put the ball in a certain area, whether a player's got a weakness, you don't want him to dribble as much, whether you would want him to shoot more, whether you want him to roam around from his position, etc. So you can really get deep and refine your specific tactics in there. Set pieces, that's another one that is quite in depth. You can pick what kind of marking you want to do, so we'll go zonal marking. Do you want players on the posts? I like to have players on the posts. How many players do you want to leave forwards? Do you want to defend the box? Do you want to counter attack? Do you want to go balanced? I'm quite keen on counter attacking. How do you want to deliver the ball from a set piece? Do you want to go to the far post, the near post? So you're looking at glancing headers from the near post. Do you want it centrally, right on the penalty spot? Or do you want it at the far post? Again, I'll put it there. How many players do you want to leave back during defending when you're attacking? So I want to defend the transition. Do you want it to be in-swung or out-swung? I'm a big fan of an in-swinger because I like the ball to be a natural movement towards the goal rather than away. But again, you might have some really good headers of the ball where an out-swinger might be a bit more favourable. And that will kind of generate your set-piece plan. And you can tweak all these players now, so you can choose who stays forward, who goes back, and you can really get into the nitty-gritty of what you want each specific player to do. It tells you who they are, what they're good at, and you can really refine your set-piece tactics from there. Penalties, again, it gives you a little graphic on the left-hand side. You can filter by who your best penalty takers are. You can put some in there to preset, and then whichever one is highest on that list during a match will take your penalties. Captains, again, leadership and teamwork. You can put in who your captains are. We've got Nicola Muru, who doesn't seem to be fairly high on that list. You would think Dero or someone there, however, he's out on loan, so maybe Kasami or someone might be a captain. But what you've got to consider is are they going to be a first team player? So evaluating all that will help you determine who your captain should be. Match plans, you can put in loads and loads of defaults and scenarios based on whether you're winning, whether you're losing, whether you want to make a substitution, etc. I don't really like to do this because I like to watch the match and see how the game develops. But if you are wanting to set it up so say you go a goal down, you want to automatically go to a set formation and automatically change around your mentality, you can do it within that box. And then your opposition instructions, you can look at players you're playing against and say whether you want to be tight marking against them, do you want to trigger the press, how often, always, never, do you want to show them onto a weaker foot, etc. And you can really go to town on that. Again, you can ask your assistant to look at these. It's based on what your scouting is of your opposition, etc. But that's kind of what you would do if you wanted to do your appearance, your opposition instructions. So that's a rough overview of everything you're on there. The other things you can look at and get involved in is extra player information, if you want to, in terms of what the tactical familiarity is, and that's how well they are, how knowledgeable they are of playing that particular position within that particular formation. So as you can see, it's not currently particularly great. However, the more you play, the more familiar they'll become, etc. And then your other information in there is mostly about form and how fit they are to play the game. The other one I like to use is this analysis of areas of weakness on the pitch, because this is showing you what areas of the pitch might be exposed to the opposition. So you can see here we've got an area, it's got a low positional influence from our attacking midfielder, low from our right winger, and low from our central midfielder because he's sat deep. So it's an area that no one's directly responsible for, and that could be exploited by the opposition. That's the only real weak area you can see in there. Now, if you really wanted to, you could tweak Yepes. You could probably move him into a support role, which slides him up further forward. That's not made too much of a difference. You could possibly, if you got him into a ball winner, put him any further forward. Let's put him a little bit more further forward. But again, you're starting to. It's not as bad. But again, maybe you're missing something tactically in terms of now he's not playing in the position he was in a defensive midfielder defending, which may affect your tactics. So it's just something to take into consideration when you're doing it. I think it's a really useful button, certainly if you're finding you're getting exposed down certain weak areas of the team. Now from this, once you've got your team in place, you can refine what these specific rules are. So you can change them on here as to what suits the player most, or you can change it as to, well, actually I want him to be a bit more attacking, so I want him to move into a more attacking. You can say I want it to be automatic based on how the game's going and what our mentality is, or you can leave him in a support role, and again you can change them as you go. The other bit to talk about is your mentality. This changes how much risk you take basically moving forward. So when you go very attacking, your players will push forward and try and overload the final third of the pitch. Very defensive, players aren't going to make any long busting runs forward. They're probably not going to make as many supporting runs, etc. They're going to sit really deep, and that's when you're looking to close out games, etc. Or you think you're going to take an absolute hammering. But for the most part, you'll generally start on a balance or positive, depending on if you think you're going to win or not. Following that, each of these in transition, out possession, and in possession boxes you can click on, and rather than doing it as a player specific set of instructions, you can look at whether you want to overlap, underlap, how short you want your passing to be, what tempo, whether you want to do time wasting, dribbling, where you want your shooting to come from, if you want to hit early crosses. In your transition you can say, well, I want to counter press, or I want to hold my shape, where you want to distribute the ball down, whether you want the keeper to kick it long or short. And then when you're out of position is how to high defensive line do you want to do. Do you want to step up more, drop off more, play an offside trap, etc. So there's a lot of detail you can put in there as you're assessing your tactic and getting it ready. So that is just about everything. The only massive tip I would give everybody who's playing Football Manager, and you've probably seen this in numerous videos, is always pick 3 tactics. So you've created one, even if you're going to play the same way, do it in a slightly different formation maybe. So where we've done that one before, we'll do a 4-2-3-1 wide, and then you might have for the third tactic something completely different. You might say, well, instead of tiki taka, we're going to go route 1. We're going to pick something that's really going to get players up there. We'll go 4-4-2, and we're going to lump the ball at the park. But what it does is it gets you throughout your training 3 separate formations, which will increase the familiarity and enable you to play in certain different ways. So that's because the players have swapped round now that we've changed the formation. So you've got 1, 2, 3. If we're going back here, you would just quick pick the players, put them back in the right position, and your analysis goes back to what it was before. So again, I wouldn't always necessarily rely on the managers picking the players for you, because I don't think they always get it right. It's always good to evaluate who you think's best. Going back to our squad, most of our best players are in there. Emil Odero is out on loan at Inter, that's why he can't play for us, so he's out of the club at the minute, he's injured. Berezinski is out on loan at Empoli, so he can't play, so it's a bit bizarre why we've got a couple of players out on loan who are our players. Perhaps it's to do with wages and trying to retain them if we get promoted back to Serie A, but for the most part what we've done is we've found a tactic that's got most of our best players in there. You can probably see that left back Nicola Muru is probably one of our weaker players in the squad. That might be an area look to strengthen, but certainly from a squad and tactics point of view, I think that's covered all the basics and everything that you need to know really, and hopefully they'll work in your games as you move forward. So that concludes episode 3. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment sections if you think I've missed anything or if you found it useful, and we'll get ready for the next tutorial. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Catch you soon. See you later. Goodbye.